Hi, good morning, people. At a time where the country is yet to introduce the GST tax on cricket, by which I, of course, mean the good strike rate tax, here's Pranay, Rangra, myself, Dev Tyagi, and a very special guest, Prashant Banjare, welcoming you to episode number 39, where hopefully we'll be trying to hit some good strokes about cricket, a game which deserves better representation than the content which is being created around it, if it can be called that. Pranay, how are you? Prashantji, how are you? All good? What's up, guys?
All good, man,
I'm fine,
Dave.
brother, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, your new
Always a
hairdo
pleasure,
looks really
Prashantji.
nice. It looks like the flourishing West Indies career.
Who's my head, or rather the lack of my hair?
No, your hairdo.
Okay. So today's episode is going to be hopefully interesting because it is not centered on anything else but the Proteas tour of the West Indies, and I did not say the worst Indies, for they just lost the Test series when they could have tried a bit um, to just defend it. But I'm sure that Pranay's the color of blood in Pranay's veins is already green, although he's hiding it by wearing blue, because he's a true blue Proteas lover. So my first question to my fellow podcaster, Pranay, are you feeling happy? You won the Test series. I mean, South Africa has.
So Dave, yeah, it's a feeling of what should I say? Yeah, it's a feeling of honesty, if I may, because I feel that the way South Africa has won the last nine series against the West Indies, it's a very honest effort in terms of the progress that they've shown. And now they've made it 10th. I was guessing that if it wouldn't have rained in the port of Spain, South Africa could have done a 2-0 because they were in the ascendancy. But yeah, it's always good to see South Africa beating West Indies. I mean, not that I don't want West Indies to perform, but yeah, so it's the 10 series consecutive wins. So yeah, it feels nice.
Right. And speaking of Port of Spain, I think ideal time to bring in Prashantji, who is the biggest admirer of the greatest cricketer from the Port of Spain. And I'm not talking about Joshua De Silva, who's not from Port of Spain, who's actually from Trinidad. Prashantji, what would be going on in the mind of the great Brian Lara, having just witnessed the Test series loss, but a very enterprising win in the first T20 international against the Proteas?
Yeah, as I said so many times that the advent of T20 cricket has really given the West Indies something to cheer about. But as far as the toughest form of cricket, that is Test cricket, it's not the first time we are seeing them faltering at home or abroad. And uh, you're talking about Brian. When Brian was playing, the story was same. So nothing to say much about their performance. Occasionally they perform very well, but the only thing consistent about West Indies is their inconsistencies, as the late broadcaster, Tony Cozier once said, in a very disappointing mode. So I do not watch cricket that but I follow them in news through Cricinfo and all, and it, you know it's really painful to see them losing so badly. Okay, there are some hopes like Sema Joseph and all, but to me, I have nothing to say much about. I'm a very disappointing uh, individual as far as West Indies cricket is concerned.
You are a very loving individual. You've become a disappointed person after seeing the Test cricket loss. So
Yeah,
that
rather I would
was
have said like that.
so yeah. So I mean, but don't be disappointed. There's always a chance to lose by greater margins to South Africa again. We can hope for more terrible losses. But okay, let's
Uh,
just cut
One thing,
straight to
one
the
but
thing.
you know,
serious
Dave,
stuff.
South Africa. You see, South Africa. South Africans are, I've always known for their fighting attitude, and I really admire them because even they are also in transition period, but they will never lose that badly. So West Indies could take a leaf out of their book.
yeah,
Pranay, over to
Prashanti,
you.
well put, because the grey strands in Bahuma's hair would have slightly reduced. And even in his beard, considering they won the Test series, otherwise that was just on the upswing. But you know, Dave, in all honesty, I feel that the margins weren't that drastic because Gudikesh Modi almost had West Indies chase the target. And even in the first test, West Indies did put up a fight. So if you see I think the margins in the 2021 series when COVID was at its peak were much more drastic as compared to this time. So there is a bit of an improvement in West Indies performance if you were to just logically break it down. And yesterday or day before, the way they annihilated South Africa by 7 wickets in the first T20 speaks volumes.
Yes, I just want to pick your brains on what you observed in the Test series, and sorry for being severe, but I just come from the land of the average North Indian Joe who can be severe even when life is going smooth. So we just like to crib and complain a lot, and on top of it, I live in the capital city, so I think it's kind of a preordained dictum to incite anger. But of course, it's just in a lighter vein. West Indians don't take me seriously. I myself am yet to take myself seriously. But yeah, of course, I do second Prashantji's point, though, Pranay, that it's disappointing to see another Test series loss because I think at the Test cricket level, the team's performances, by and large, have been rather disappointing, something we cannot shy away from. However, there were some very promising green shoots, and by that, I don't mean only in the Proteas contingent, where the West Indians were concerned. I think remarkable all round performance by Jason Holder, who was due some runs. We saw the light of form. We saw some improvement in England in on what was a very challenging Test series, but he worked on his batting. It was quite evident. To me, however, the most standout performance, besides the very spirited half century hit by Moti, was definitely Alec Athena's, which I wanted to speak to both of you about. That 92, just what's the significance of that 92 for this young 25-year-old Dominican?
Dave, anyone facing the likes of Kagiso Rabada, Keshav Maharaj, who, as things stand, are like world-class bowlers. And Kagiso Rabada is just shy of 300, and Keshav Maharaj has become the leading wicket taker when it comes to spin bowling for South Africa. So getting runs against that kind of an attack is always very commendable. And seeing those elegant off drives, cover drives, just reminds me of Prashant Ji's mentor, Sir Brian Charles Lara.
Big words, those. Right, right. Prashantji, your observations on Alec Athena's, if you've seen the little of his batting, I'm sure you were impressed and you weren't left bitterly disappointed.
Yeah, I've read your article in the past about him, and I've seen his batting talent. But the problem is that I just don't want to be harsh on any of the youngsters. Is that how they are thinking to develop their game? Okay, 92, it's a very pugnacious inning in my opinion, because as Pranay said, that facing Rabada is not a joke, and he's one of the best fast bowler right now in world cricket. But the problem is that the consistency, the okay, he can't score runs in every outing, but at the end of the day, you got to be consistent. And if you want to become a leading light, or a linchpin of a batting lineup, and you're talking about Brian Lara, when Brian Lara was playing in those days, he has that vision that I would love to be the fulcrum of this batting lineup, and I was want to fight for my country against any opposition, against on any track. I want to see these youngsters to play more and more Test cricket, and just don't incline towards the T20 cricket and all. And Athanaze, I think he has the talent, he has the grace, he just uses the depth of the crease, and he has a very good defensive um, uh, technique also. So I just don't want to jump on the conclusion that he's the new hero of the West Indies cricket. Let us see. Let us keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully the youngster will do some more wonders for the Caribbean cricket.
Surely, I think that he can be a very good all format player. Speaking of all formats, Pranay, I would like to bring you in on a very, very spirited spark of the Proteas fire. A 24-year-old youngster called Tristan Stubbs, who, by the way, just recently achieved his second T20 50, international T20 50, and what a knock it was, albeit in a losing cause. Your thoughts on that one, Pranay?
Yeah, Dave, till the time he's not stubbing his career away, I'm really happy. But keeping that apart, I think Shukri Kontra, the South African Test coach, said something of great significance. He said that Tristan Stubbs, no matter what, will be back for a long period of time as the number three batter in Test cricket. And now, if those strong words come from a coach and the batsman knows that irrespective of his performance, he's going to get a long rope, then his careers ought to go up, right? Because what's the biggest fear a player has? It's about whether I'm going to be in the team consistently or not. If I have two bad knocks, am I going to be thrown away versus I'm going to be backed? So getting that whole thing of backing someone from scratch obviously ought to elevate his confidence. And in an interesting interview that I was seeing on social media about Stubbs was that his favorite format is red ball cricket. Though he's yet to deliver there, he scored a half century. But he's like thinking about red ball cricket. I'm just trying to make a career in T20, hoping that red ball cricket comes my way sooner than later. And that's actually happened. And I think that's wonders. I want to see him progress in ODI cricket also. But yeah, let's see whether he can become the new number three for South Africa.
Yeah, too early to call something like that. Definitely has the makings of somebody who can be a very accomplished player, and I think his heart beats for South Africa. It's very clear, and he's a trier, he's a doer. My first exposure to his batting was actually when I saw him specifically turn up for the Delhi Capitals in the most recent IPL season, and I think he was a treat to watch. He took so many games to the death overs. He won a few games, and definitely when he's on song, I think the stadia around the world can only be expected to be filled with crowds. So we should talk more about what's going to come in the two T20 internationals which are yet to be played. I would want to know your thoughts on who's going to take the series at the end of the day. And of course, we know that the West Indies have a good record against South Africa when it comes to the briefest format of the game. But this is not South Africa where they're playing, where they have a special advantage. They've won for so many years the T20 series against South Africa in South Africa, but this is the Caribbean. So I think it's kind of a payback time a bit for the West Indies, and South Africa would want to extract the kind of revenge that they've always wanted to.
Dave, it's a tough one to call because if you see the T20 series that preluded the World Cup, these guys played three matches before the World Cup also, and Razzie van der Dusen's team was rather annihilated by West Indies. And who would have thought that South Africa would progress to the finals, right? Beating West Indies en route. So it's a
Yeah.
tough one to call, and maybe tonight they can do a one each and see how the next game progresses, which could become a virtual final. But yeah, I mean, I just see West Indies putting their heart in T20s, but rather losing their mind in test matches. So that's a tricky one that I can't get around my head around. Maybe you can answer that. Because a team that's performing so well in T20s, what happens to them in Test cricket? And say like a Shea
So I think
Hope, a brilliant T20 player, and I always thought that he would be one of those Test heroes, but he's just taken to the shortest format like fish to water.
yeah, so he was a test hero ever too briefly 7 years back in the day in England, but I think many moons have happened since. The West Indies team that you're seeing today, I would seriously think is one of the most balanced test teams that they've had in a long time. However, there are so many jigsaw pieces which are missing in the puzzle for me. Number one being what happened to Nkrumah Bonner? Where did he go? He was such a promising talent. He had patience. He had everything that you need to become a test match specialist. He could draw games from precarious situations. He did that in the past. He had the ability to bat out sessions from the little I saw of him. Roston Chase still belongs at the test level, I would say. He was dropped after a couple of very average series. This is a guy, and me and Prashant Ji have spoken about this a lot. That emphatic century in the rain assisted test draw at Jamaica 8 years ago now against India, of course, at home in the Caribbean. When that century happened, I thought that they found a fine new young man. And then the Barbadian went on to hit two more determined centuries, both of which came against Pakistan. He came to India. He hit another century in what was his first visit to India as a in a West Indian Test cap. But there's no signs of Roston Chase. But definitely, reflecting more on the current makeup of the team, Cabham Hodge is somebody who I'm very pleased seeing as a fan of West Indies cricket and as a cricket fan, somebody who likes the longest format a lot. I would say that Cabham Hodge is a very good find. He might not be around for many, many years because age is not on his side. He's not old, but he's not the youngest. He's not a spring chicken like like youngsters like Anthony, as we spoke about, or Joshua De Silva. But I think the biggest puzzling um, narrative right now is Craig Brathwaite's rather inconsistent scores, which have now come to trouble the average West Indies cricket fan, who would have more of a say about CPL than he would have a say about Test cricket and their waning fortunes there. I've gone time and again praising Craig Brathwaite for his stoicism, for batting out sessions, for batting time, for hitting runs in difficult conditions. But you just have to, as the most experienced batsman in the current lineup of 11, you can't escape without at least one or two centuries in every single test match series that you play. And the unfortunate part here is that West Indians get only three test matches at the most, from what's evident today. Unlike in India or Australia or England, who get four test match series. I don't remember the last time I saw five test match series, bilaterals, I mean. So if you are playing 2 to 3 test matches in a series, Pranay, which means 6 innings at the most, Craig Brathwaite has no other way but to score century in 2 innings. And that is only to inspire the youngsters around him to score. It is also rather disappointing that Shivnarayan Chandrapal's son, Tejnarayan, who began his career very solidly by hitting some useful runs against Australia, in Australia, is nowhere to be found. And why? Because he's the reason for his own undoing. You cannot have a test average which is not even 30 basis your previous 14 or 15 innings. And I think that is something concerning. Should the selectors do something about it and bring this young man back into the side? Well, they should decide. It's not for us to decide, but definitely not having Tejana and Chandrapal in the 11 would hurt West Indian fortunes because that guy is meant for Test cricket. He belongs at this level. Having said that, it's very, very encouraging to find Jason Holder rediscover his form. He has the makings to be an extraordinary world class all rounder. He is a very good all rounder, not at the consistent levels of a Ben Stokes or other cricketers, so to speak. And we've seen him gifting his wickets away. He actually plays some of the most gorgeous looking off drives and cover drives. Of course, the ownership of the debate of the cover drive only belongs to us Indians and Pakistanis in this subcontinent, because we feel that when it comes to cover drive, there are only two human beings who are gifted with the talent of playing it. One is called Virat Kohli, and the other is Babar Azam. With much respect to these two eminent batters, but if we actually were to focus on Jason Holder's batting, he plays gorgeous cover drives. He gets into the act pretty early. He has the patience. He looks very elegant, but the runs hadn't been coming. Now that he scored some against South Africa when it mattered, I, for one, I'm enthused and I'm encouraged to see this change, and it was about time. So,
So
yeah.
who do you see taking the T20 series, Dave?
Um, I would rather have Prashant Ji answer that.
Prashant ji.
A bitterly disappointed fan right now. I want to
No,
hear
no,
more
no,
from.
not like that. First of all, really great listening to such great insights by both of you, brother. Uh, Coming back to the, talking about who will win the T20 series, South Africa cannot be discounted. They over the years they have shown that never say die attitude. Okay, South Africa of yesteryears were very different, but still they are a very good team. So they're gonna fight in the second T20, and I would love to see South Africa win, and uh, then we'll go for the decider. I think that will be a curve for the West Indies. Is that winning the one, losing the one, and do they have in them to really win the decider, the crunch, the crunch match? And one thing about Pranay. Pranay said that the West Indies, are they fond of playing T20 cricket, or do they form very well in T20 cricket? Well, yeah, to an extent we can say that their mindset is that sort of the format they will relish. And that is West Indies Cricket Board should think to develop a culture, a batting culture, where a lot of youngsters should aspire to play red ball cricket. You know, Nicholas Puran, such a great talent. I don't know why West Indies Cricket Board is not talking to him, whether he is adamant to play only T20 cricket. I don't know. Such kind of talent should come to red ball cricket, prosper in that format, and aspire and inspire the coming generation. And no matter how good you are in white ball cricket, the red ball cricket is the best cricket and is the, you know, where you can really say that proud on yourself that I have done something in red ball cricket. T20 cricket, okay, you are very good, and that is one of the things which West Indies cricket board should look into. You know, talking about Athenas, I don't want him to get indulged in T20 cricket. Similarly, talking about Shea Hope, Shea Hope was a test hero. We all know his Headingley heroics way back in, I think, in 2013 or 14,
17,
and that day, yeah, yeah,
17, 17.
yeah. Now he is in Test T20 format. You know, the likes of Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, they play all formats of cricket, and it's, I think it's BCCI must be looking into all those things, that cricket is a religion in India, and for the Caribbean people, you can say that cricket binds them together. So it's a high time that the youngsters should understand money is really essential, but that doesn't mean that for money you will just um, scrap Test cricket or leave Test cricket. Test cricket should be the most important thing for them.
ग्रेट पॉइंट है प्रशांत जी, बट उन्हें कौन समझाए और कैसे किसी को कोई इस बात का ज्ञात दिलाए? सो दिस इज एक्चुअली, it's like essentially opening a very essential can of worms, as I would call it. So from the longest time, and I think Pranay, you might also agree that there has been talk that there's not enough money in West Indian cricket. And then I think recently Mr. Brian Lara also fueled a lot of talk, necessary talk though, by saying that if I was to just put 100 million into the account of the West Indies Cricket Board, it's not going to change the way we play. Because at the end of the day, how you perform in the middle is what is going to drive your cricket forward. But now, and I think it's kind of a catch 2022 situation with the likes of Nicholas Pooran, and I'm being very serious here. First of all, we have no clarity whether he himself has a desire to play Test cricket. Test cricket is a format which Brandon King should definitely play. He has the patience, the strokes, and the mindset for it. That is very clear. I mean, it would be a fool's errand, and I'm not being a fanboy. We are not fanboys on the Correct Point Show podcast, or in neither are we fanboys in our writing. I think all of us know that. But from what I've seen of Brandon King, he has the makings to be a test specialist. Who is going to take that call today is more of a, a morally correct point of view, a big decision that you have to take, being a responsible caretaker of West Indies cricket, than it is a matter of priority. Because I think the priorities are clear, that you want to earn. And I can't blame cricketers for earning more when there are opportunities, because they were always devoid of that. Having said that, what is then going to happen to national representation? So let's not fool ourselves. Um, Things are never going to be what they were once upon a time, because times are always changing. And I don't quote Bob Dylan specifically for this insightful song, and it's a legendary song, by the way. But it will never be the West Indies, Prashantji, that you and I saw and Pranay saw, because times have changed, priorities have changed. At the same time, I again reiterate my point. The biggest question is what is going to happen to nationalistic fervor? So this is a very dicey situation, because there, I think from what I see from the rabble rousing fans, whether on Facebook, and they are there in a plenty, as well as Twitter, they don't think of themselves as West Indies. They think that Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana, and now, Saint Martin and whatnot. So that collective identity, that collective love for West Indies, I still feel somewhere it is there. But is it the biggest draw? I don't know. I wish as a cricket fan that that was to be the case. But I don't know if you have a money making opportunity, why would you not make money? Why would you not play? What is the stronghold that can come in the way of your desire of making that extra buck, which you are fully entitled to by playing franchise cricket? So we see Max 60, which is a new T10 revolution which has come into the light, and it is happening at Cayman Islands. And Mr. Dario Bartley, the former manager of the West Indies cricket team, is the CEO of the league. And I'm very happy for him. I'm very excited for this bright young man from the West Indies. His heart beats for the game and for West Indies cricket in general. And it's lovely to see that. Having said that, who is going to change things, कैसे वो चीजें balance होंगी, we just don't know. And Pranay, your takes on this one? Am I making any sense?
No, Dave, you are. I was just thinking about something that I don't know whether you guys saw the ground condition and the state of the ground when the test matches were happening. Cricket West Indies was bereft of sponsors, they were bereft of boundary boards, they were bereft of those boundary cards. So, I mean, I was just trying to sort of compare that with when South Africa traveled to West Indies in 2021. They had Betway as a sponsor. So, if your infrastructure, if your sponsorships are not like sort of making the cut, then how will your infrastructure make the cut? And then why would people
It
want to
won't.
invest their time in test cricket, so to speak, and would rather go for franchisees that can pay them and that can make them good breadwinners, right? So it's all connected. It's like the board needs to do something in terms of get more funds in, get more sponsorships in, develop infrastructure, and then only can you get people to or kids or youngsters to come and play red ball cricket, right? South Africa is also guilty of the same thing, but at least they've realized that they need to start from grassroots levels. And I'm just glad that Dafabet has agreed to sponsor South Africa as their associate sponsor. So now there's some more funds coming in from there.
Absolutely. And I think amidst this changing narrative of the game, I would just like to draw your attention towards a certain Andre Russell, who I think left a lot of his critics stunned. And why I'm talking about him specifically, there's a reason here, Pranay and Prashantji, and is that he was supposed to have been this T20 mercenary, जिनको कोई मतलब नहीं था नेशनल टीम के लिए, वो जाए भाड़ में, that I don't care. This was a narrative that he doesn't care about the West Indian national jersey, that he's just there for the IPL and all that. No, he made himself available for the T20 World Cups. Am I right? He played one which happened in the UAE 2022, I believe. Then he played. Then he played more T20 internationals for the West Indies, and then he played this very recent T20 World Cup, which the West Indies, in which West Indians were not that thoroughly disappointing. But yeah, for sure, as a fan, we would have all liked them to see in the semifinals. So why I'm talking about Russell is that a person who was branded a T20 mercenary, who had actually made a career by hitting sixes regardless of the format, still at an age where he could have chosen the easy bucks, came back and wore the West Indian jersey. That's a signal to the youngsters of tomorrow. And he's not the greatest T20 player out there, but of course he does excel at something which fills the crowds, right? And that's hitting sixes with astonishing ease. Let's face facts, Pranay. Anything could have happened if in that game against South Africa he could have been at the wicket. He was run out, was he? He was run out, no? He was at the non-striker's end, and then he was coming for a single, which I don't think was his call or something, and then he was run out. So Andre Russell, a potent all-rounder, a man most noted for hitting big sixes, was at his athletic best also. So I think that should serve somewhere as an inspiration to the younger talents who definitely have to now choose between how much is too much when it comes to playing franchise cricket versus the thing called nationalistic fervor, if it still exists in the West Indies. And I think it does, because had that not been the case, probably by now Jason Holder would have completely become a T20 mercenary. He has played the IPL, he has played T10, he has played so many other franchise-based leagues around the world. He still makes himself available, and I think that is very nice of him.
You know, amid such interesting conversation, we've actually reached time. So I would urge all you guys to give me some closing comments and let's just end this on a high.
Yeah, cool. How about reaching the rooftop of our house and then jumping from there in the hope that West Indies is going to win the T20 series? No, but I mean, on a serious note, I think it's been another engaging conversation. We should have more of this. The next episode would be the 40th, which is going to be my age when I reach 30 more years. I'm just a 10-year-old. I have no wisdom, no intellect, nothing. I just like to blabber. And at the end of the day, I'm a North
So
Indian.
you like
These
West
are my
Indies
truths,
Test cricket, huh?
which is not in the T10 format yet. Prashant ji,
Prashant ji,
how
yeah.
are you?
I just want to say that I thoroughly enjoyed this podcast, and we should be doing this more regularly.
Right. And
So
Prashant ji,
it's
chin up.
always, yeah.
They'll bring
No,
reasons for you
I'm
to
I'm
smile.
absolutely fine.
All's not
Actually,
over
I
yet.
just want to be a good listener. First of all, I'm listening to two wonderful people. One is South African Fire, and another is Kimi the Iceman.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of which, let me advertise this book, Kimi the Iceman. Read it, guys. Must read for any sport fan,
And
including you, Pranay. Oh, by the
I
way,
still I still recall those IVPL moment. You know, when we all three used to enjoy going to the stadium and all.
Yeah. That time I was just bereft of hair, but not talent. But it's always fun having speaking to both of you, and I think Dave was
that's
frozen for a
nice.
minute.
Then you're Ravinat. You're in the form of your life.
And yeah, let's
Yeah, you know
catch up
how.
soon again for another edition, possibly after the T20 series, and maybe we can dwell a little on how England and Sri Lanka are going at it. And I think India is
Definitely.
supposed to play New Zealand soon, so there's a lot of cricket coming away, and it's always going to be a pleasure speaking to both of you on these things.
Likewise.
And hopefully, West
Likewise.
Indies will soar in the 5-day format, which no longer is 5 days because Test get over in 2.5 days. But yeah. And just one
Well said,
closing
Pranay.
thing, Dave, I think the Ashes always should be a 5 series format, and India shouldn't be contesting 5 series. I mean, 5 Test matches in a series against the likes of England and Australia. Just takes the purity
Let me
away
just
from the Ashes.
let me just complain to Mr. Jay Shah and BCCI and get you completely out of this country. You don't deserve to exist as an honest podcaster and somebody who gives you honest views. इसको निकालो यहाँ से. No, no, but you need to be here. And we need more content creators like you who call a spade, because you don't live under a shade, you don't live under a rock. But guess what? You rock with your wisdom, your insights, and your love for the Proteas fire. Until we meet again, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys. Thank you.
Thank you.